Welcome, everyone. We're excited for another mindful poetry. If you wouldn't mind, as you join in, can you write into the chat where you're joining us from? Hi, Mervyn and Susan and Gloria. Elise, Wade, Bonnie, Joanne. All right, we have Oakland, California, Northside. I think Northside's the Oakland of Cincinnati, maybe. Who else do we have? Oh, we got downtown, South Carolina. Hi, Jenny. Lisa's in Dayton. So we opened the room up a little bit early, mainly so we have time to say hello to each other, see where we're all calling in from, and also because our beautiful vibraphonist New Yorker friend, Chris Dingman, came up with this beautiful new music from his new offering called Poetry of Place. And we wanted to share some of this very mindful music with our mindful poets. Hi, Wendy. Hi, Sarah. Furthest Cincinnati, I would say. Welcome from Germany. Hi, Elena. Good to see you. Welcome, Elliot. Welcome, Erica. If I have missed you to say hello to you, I apologize. All right, we're going to wait a couple more minutes, get a few more folks in the room. Looks like Joan has joined, perhaps Hillary. We generally open the room right at 3, and it's we started a little early, so I want to just make sure we get a few more folks in. Sarah is calling in from a public library in Los Angeles. Wonderful. I love learning about libraries from Susan Orleans's book called The Library Book, maybe. All righty, everyone. Welcome, welcome. This is our, oh gosh, I should have a running total. I'm going to guess our 30th-ish mindful poetry session. It's the second session of this April's season that was curated by Manuel Iris. And we are so all the poems have been selected by Manuel, including the gorgeous, almost like cathedral of a poem from the beautiful Mary Oliver called Wild Geese. And I just want to, I think most of you have all been in this space, but just a bit about how we structure this potent hour. In a few seconds, you're going to get to meet Julia Orquera Bianco, who will take us through a mindfulness exercise to really arrive with each other. After that, we move over to our facilitator today, Christine Wilson, who Julia will tell you more about, but Christine runs Women Writing for a Change here in Cincinnati, and there's other branches of it. But Women Writing for a Change has created sort of the original safe spaces here in Cincinnati for writers and processing thoughts, emotions, well-being. It's really a gorgeous organization. So after Christine takes us through a poem, we'll get a prompt, and the poem, and then we'll spend time writing, and then we'll spend time sharing. And then we'll come to the end together and we'll talk about our next steps. So this is being recorded. So if for some reason you wish to be edited out of the recording we share online, you'll just have to let us know. Patrick is traveling this week. So he says hello from afar, but you can let either Bryce or I know. Bryce, anything essential I'm forgetting before I introduce Julia a little more fully?
Just a note that your screen is only being recorded if you are speaking. So feel free to turn your camera on so we can see all your beautiful faces. All right.
Thank you. So, Julia Bianco is Julia Orquera Bianco. So officially on the way she describes herself is as an interdisciplinary artist and ecologist. Oh my gosh, ecologist, working in the intersection of self, others, and the land. And equally officially, but more from our experience of working with Julia. Julia became a resident artist with us last year and created this extraordinary wellness garden in complicated Camp Washington. Also helped facilitate beautiful art and poetry with some kids last year for us. And Julia is not from Cincinnati originally. It's from Argentina, but we're really so lucky that the way the world works, Julia got delivered into the lap of Cincinnati, and we do our best to claim her as long as she is in our midst. So Julia, I turn it over to you to get us grounded today.
Thank you, Stacy. Thank you, Bryce and and thank you, Stacy, for such warm and beautiful introduction. I love the well, and the wellness garden is well and alive, and it's gonna start kicking very soon. So for today, and maybe I should say that as an artist and an ecologist, Mary Oliver is kind of a little bit of the author of my own Bible. I love this poem. I'm just so glad that we get to reflect on it mindfully. So for our time together today, before leaning into the writing, I would like all of us to our own pace take a few deep breaths together. So I am going to do it. You do it at your own pace. And I'm going to be guiding you into a few minutes of contemplation. So breathing in through our nose, filling up our bellies with air. Sigh it out through our mouth. Trying to make some room for contemplation and softness today. Let's take a few more of those, breathing in through our nose and now through our mouths. An invitation to close your eyes or place them softly anywhere where it feels safe and comfortable. Relax into your body. And after a few deep breaths, maybe you start tuning into a rhythm of breathing that feels natural to you. Slowly, let softness take over. Softening our thoughts and our thinking. Softening our feeling and softening our feelings while we soften in our breath. In this next few moments, invitation to contemplate this softening that is mindfully taking place in our body, in our mind, in our hearts, and in our relationship with the world. How does softening feel like? And how can we stay soft? Let's take a few minutes to lean into the softness of this moment. Slowly keeping that softness we have gained in these moments, let's start to come back to presence. Maybe wiggling our fingers and toes to bring up some movement, blinking our eyes open while staying soft, my friends. Thank you. So now I will go ahead and introduce our poetry facilitator for today, Christine Wilson. Christine Wilson is a poet, a writer, an editor, an artist, and facilitator who is also the executive director at Women Writing for a Change. Her work includes themes on feminism, queerness, justice, and connection. She values truth and loves bringing out the best, both in her own work and others. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Christine.
Thank you, Julia. I appreciate it. So glad to be with you here today. I'm going to start by reading the poem, and I love that Stacy said that it's a cathedral of a poem. Poets and non-poets alike have been in love with this poem for a very long time. And I would ask that as I'm reading it, much like the meditation, you would let it sort of wash over you, because it indeed feels like a meditation in and of itself. So I'm going to read it just like that, and I ask that you let it wash over you. Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about your despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscape, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting over and over again, announcing your place in the family of things. Bryce, you can go ahead and take it down. I just want to talk for a second about Mary Oliver. She lived kind of a reclusive life. She didn't like a lot of attention brought to her. She would rather you look at her poetry. As many poets do, we hide behind the speaker of the poem. And she was born right here in Ohio, and that is one thing that makes me very proud to be from Ohio. She was raised right outside of Cleveland. And another thing she kept very secret, but I think I want to bring up here, is that she was gay and had a partnership with a woman, Molly, for over 40 years they were together. And I question, is that maybe why she kept herself a little more secret, being born in 1935? I'm sure that that might have eliminated her from certain publications, because that would have been racy then and maybe is again now during the time we're in. So when I read this poem, what I think is Mary Oliver wrote this poem because she needed this poem. She needed it. I think sometimes we read a poem like this and think, oh my gosh, Mary Oliver has it all figured out, and now she's telling me. And instead, poets quite frequently, and I know I do this, we write the poems we need to hear. So she herself is wrestling with, what does it mean to be good? And what does it mean to love the things that the soft animal of your body love? I have a question that I would like to throw out then. If that is a way of looking at the poem, the way I look at the poem, but not the way you have to look at the poem, what do you think her reason for choosing wild geese and the sun and clear pebbles of the rain, those metaphors for this poem? What do those things have in common, or what might, I think Mary Oliver writes so beautifully that it sounds like she never edited. It just sounds like it rolled off of her tongue, but I can guarantee you that she did and that there's intention behind the metaphor she chose. So, what do you think the poem is saying, and why are those metaphors important? Wade Hopkins, I see you, and I think you are right that that is in the poem. He wrote, "Geese don't give an F." And I think that there's some real truth in that because you do not have to be good, is how the poem opens. Why else? That wasn't what I was going for, even if it's true. Um, what else do you think is the reason she chose? Let's start with a flock of geese. Somebody want to speak, you can wave your hand and unmute and speak out loud or do what you're doing in the chat. Yeah, Ellen, my friend Ellen.
Christine. I feel like from reading a lot of her poetry that it's what she took in and what she sees around her in the natural world. And, you know, a flock of geese flying overhead, they're moving from one area to another. They're like they seem free and you know, part of a group. I think there are a lot of things that I could see why she would choose geese.
I like that you said part of a group. When I think about geese flying, they seem to be able to connect with each other in such a unique way of knowing where they fall in line with the flock and flight patterns. There's sort of an understanding and connection that's there. Somebody else said that they think that, is it Elise, thinks that it's important that the geese are wild, and I completely agree. I love the word wild in this. These aren't farm geese. These are geese that fly where they want. Also that they're everywhere. I agree. How about moving into the sun and the rain? And why did she move from geese to sun and rain? Or sun and rain to geese? Bryce, did you wave?
I think Deb has her hand up.
Great.
Yes,
Deb.
I just wanted to say she talks about family also, that the geese seem like a family and they're very connected to each other. And I think she feels a little bit of odd person out, but she wants her family.
Hmm.
There's
And
a yearning for that.
Yeah, that's definitely the place where the poem ends, is the family of things, which what I love about that is that feels like it's moving to deeper and deeper connection. If you think about the goose or geese falling into their place, she herself is beginning to include herself in this larger family of things. That it mentions loneliness, moving from the ways she's separating herself from the world to the way that she is moving into, like the geese falling into their pattern with the other geese. She is placing her own self not separate, but a part of this larger family of things. Ellen says the sun and rain are constants in our lives, perhaps representing good times and challenging times. Yes, Marjorie, I saw your hand up. Unmute yourself. Marjorie, did you want to speak? Just give me a yes or a no. Since I can't read you, you could just put it in the chat. And did anybody else have something to say? I felt like the rain, the way that it is moving across the landscapes, that in and of itself also has connection in it. The rain and the sun, none of us can escape those things. They move across the landscape. I love the pebbles of rain as well. Does anyone else have something to say about those things that connect us, Bryce?
Yeah, I love the sun and the rain really remind me of the cycles. And maybe she's kind of getting at this with the geese and their seasonal migrations, but like the sun's daily cycle or how the rain, I think that moving across, yeah, it's something in like a circular, but it also feels like the sort of the arrow of time.
So if you think about even the hand motions that you used, it's like that family of things, right? But it's also we're all moving together. I just keep coming back to the resonance of you do not have to be good. Think about what is the different energy? I'm going to throw this back out to you between the person who needs to be good versus the person who's thinking about the family of things. What is because the poem moves from the first line to the last line. And I think the way she uses language lets you move to believing her by the time she gets to the last line. So, what do you see in the difference between when you're worried about, am I good enough? Am I doing this good? Am I being good? Versus letting yourself feel the softness of your body and being a part of the family of things? What's the difference there?
Stacy, did you want to go? Because I would.
Oh yeah,
I was-
I'll go quickly then. Thanks, Wendy. Yeah, I just want to report that I took this poem to a school in Cleveland this week, and the kids first through fourth graders worked on their own version of the Wild Geese poem. And let me tell you, to tell a third grader, you do not have to be good. They were like, what is this bit of magic? It
I
is
love that.
the most powerful first line to introduce poetry to young learners. And when we get to our readbacks, I brought some of them home, so I'll share with you all.
Awesome. Wendy.
I was going to say it's well, Ellen said self-acceptance, but it seems like freedom. It's giving yourself permission to be as free as the wild things while still inside a community. You can be wild, but connected.
When I got my first house, my sister-in-law, who's 16 years older than me, said, let me tell you the borrow a cup of sugar rule. When you move into your house, right away, borrow a cup of sugar from your neighbor because it'll communicate to them that if you need anything, you can come to them and it'll let you know that they can come to you. And I think sometimes if we think about neighborhoods, how often it's like, I got to keep my grass up. I have to be good. I have to look good on the outside. And that was like such a potent message to me because I felt like she was saying from the very beginning, don't be good. Let them know you're a part of the family of your street or of things. And so I think our vulnerabilities sometimes are not needing to be good and showing other people our flaws or shortcomings, even if it's a shortcoming of sugar, is a great way to create the reciprocity that a family requires, one that is about give and take. So I think she moves from self-focus, if you were someone who needed to be good at things or be good in some moral way. And I think some of us, we live in the United States. I'm sure we were taught at some point that there was good and what good was. And yet at the same time, that creates independence versus relationalness. And I know she cared about that or she wouldn't have included the line, no matter how lonely. Trying to be good will make you lonely. Yes, Joanna's mentioning how it's the simplicity of nature versus the complexity of humanity. It's true, we as humans make things harder. Connecting ourselves with nature lets us be freer, less complex, I think. All right. I would like for us to hear the poem in Spanish, as Manuel had wanted us to do. If you speak Spanish, I think it's really enjoyable to hear it. And if you don't, I think hearing another language lets you just move into the feelings of the poem without your brain getting in the way. So whichever one, let's rest into that. And I'm going to turn it over to Julia to do that. And Bryce will bring up the poem. And then we'll come back and I'll give you some prompts for the writing. Julia.
Thank you, Christine. This is the Spanish version of Wild Geese, titled Gansos, salvajes. This has been translated by Manuel Iris. No tienes que ser buena, no tienes que caminar arrodillada por cientos de millas a través del desierto, arrepintiéndote. Solo tienes que dejar que el suave animal que es tu cuerpo ame lo que ama. Háblame de la desesperanza, de la tuya, y te diré de la mía. Mientras tanto, el mundo sigue. Mientras tanto, el sol y los claros guijarros de la lluvia se mueven a través de los paisajes, por las praderas y los árboles profundos, las montañas y los ríos. Mientras tanto, los gansos salvajes, altos en el limpio aire azul, van de nuevo a casa. Quien quiera que seas, no importa cuán sola, el mundo se ofrece a sí mismo para tu imaginación. Te llama, como lo hacen los gansos salvajes, ruidosos y emocionantes, anunciando una y otra vez tu sitio en la familia de las cosas. Gracias.
Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Bryce, for pulling it down. I have a couple of suggestions for the prompt. There's a clear one that has been suggested by the well, and I'm going to let you know what that one is. And then I want to throw out another possibility. And I would say the truth is you could do both, really. I think what I want to throw out is an ability to, like Mary Oliver, talk about geese and rain while really talking about another deeper subject. And so I'm wanting to add that deeper subject underneath. The Wells prompt is: the speaker suggests that when you're lonely, we remind ourselves we're a part of the broader world, like a flock. Imagine yourself as a part of nature, part of the family of things. You could do that also by imagining that you're a goose, a tree, a pebble, and you could use your 5 senses to be fully in that place. Mary Oliver did that all the time, used nature as that thing that she connected with. The other thing that I would like to suggest that you do with the poem, and you can go any way you want, but I believe Mary Oliver wrote the poem she needed to hear. She needed to hear, you do not have to be good. And so I would ask, as you're writing this poem and including nature, I think that's good, that you write the poem you need to hear. What would you write at the top of the page that you need to hear right in this moment? Is it you're not alone? Is it you don't have to be good? You are enough? I would ask that you write into your poem the exact thing you need to hear. And indeed, what connects you with the family of things is that you're not going to be the only one who needs to hear that. The poem you need to hear is very likely the poem that everyone in this space, or a good portion of, needs to hear as well, because I need the message Mary Oliver has here, even if my experience doesn't match hers. I need to hear these things. So write the poem you need to hear when you write this poem, just like Mary Oliver. All right, it's time to turn it over. You can mute your audio and mute your video while you're writing. I don't like to be watched, and we'll bring you back in 10 minutes. Okay, go ahead and finish the line you're writing and work your way back in a transitional way that works for you. We'll come back together and have a chance to share some of our writing. All right, as faces are showing up on the screen, you can either give me a little wave or you can write your name in the chat. And let's hear some other voices and be a part of a family of things together. Would anybody like to share? Wade, you're up.
Obligation. The opposite of good is geese, proof that what is good cannot be captured in words. The opposite of geese is obligation, proof that commitment is attendant to purpose. The opposite of obligation is poetry, proof that freedom is a cool fall day. I don't know, maybe you should be a little good. Entertain a note, expect a downpour, relate to a broken downspout, even appreciate a goose just from afar, as if they are free.
That was awesome, Wade. I love all the opposites. I think when it comes to poetry, thinking in opposites is a good way to break out of our, poetry always breaks us out of like the mind locks that we have with like prose, and opposites do that for sure. So you expand it just like Mary Oliver. Would anybody else like to read? So many people wrote you read back lines. I need a second to see if anybody else said they would share. Wave your hand if you would like to go next. I want to hear your voice. Awesome, Sarah.
Thanks. I'm in the lobby of the library, so hopefully I don't get, there's not too much noise. I am not special. When I say I am not special, I can already see the programmed gears of your mind begin to turn, your brow furrow with concern, your mouth open. But you are special, dear. Everyone is utterly unique. But this is not a fake modesty, I assert here. This is my philosophy. I am not special, and neither are you. An animal. I scrounge for food. I decorate my plate with all the variety of color my animal body craves, and then I eat it all day, every day, 365 days a year, every single year of my life. I lust for bodies, for sounds that make my chest open, for green that my eyeballs have evolved to drink. I move through this world sensing scents and pheromones that no one can truthfully say they see, unless perhaps synesthetes are actually the special ones. I react to traumas upon my body and my spirit, sometimes by creating traumas in other people's bodies and spirits. People think I'm kind-hearted and generous, but that's because I've learned how to feed the lusts of my social spirit by drawing you to me, finding ways to encourage benevolent parasitic relationships in which we all find each other mutually satisfying. Just like the remora fish and the shark, just like the sexual predator, just like the biggest philanthropist in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I see some hands up now. Let's try to get in a couple more. Mervyn, would you like to go next?
Well, thank you. Okay. Anxiety can singe the winds of your humanity. So I trace along the trails in the forest, sometimes with bare feet to connect with the cold wetness, or ground as the beech trees in community. One wandering here could forget, not escape, but breathe the moss or notice how the buds modulate to leaves as mirrors, mirrorless to me. Here magpies play, seek and find with thrushes, with blackbirds, as the woodpecker pecks when I stand still. Meanwhile, Outside the forest, the sun can be fished once it's past the mountains before hiding over the windmill ridge. Meanwhile, the gorge river that ripples distracts from those in the cave houses buried in the rocks along the shore where they were. I wonder what they were hiding from, and if I would hide or truly breathe. Maybe others find their forest, their hill fields, their coastal shores, their moss to breathe. Maybe my moss, back before, was my mother telling me I am beautiful, the way my wife tells my son, you are beautiful.
Mervyn, that was fantastic. I love that you used the word meanwhile as an echo of Mary Oliver. That was wonderful. Jenny, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you. I wanted to caveat that I was struck by the Spanish version, which I'm very low Spanish language, but to call the tree profound. So that's where that was my kind of my jumping off point. I thought you meant the tree was deep in the ground, connecting to all living things below my feet, below my ability to see. I thought you meant that for this tree to be seen, it must be sturdy and strong against wind and pebbles of sleet and snow. I know now you mean for me to see you, the tree, as something else, something profound. The knowledge of your body holds generations older than I can conceive. You know how to shed leaves to feed your roots, grow bark around wounded branches, fallen in heavy, wet rain to heal, to scar. I know how to live with the animals running up and down your trunk, stealing your twigs for a home to raise children. I know how to live close without touching branches. You know.
Thank you, Jenny. I also heard echoes of Mary Oliver in there. I loved it. Deb, Daniel, I can't see your face, but I would love for you to share.
Mute. Mine is very short because I was hungry and I had to go in and make scrambled eggs. So this is the poem. The prompt was cycles and connection. On this round globe, as the night moves into a new day, my dog shivers in the early morning as we set out to meet the day.
Thank you, Deb. MS, that's what you have your name as there. MS, is that correct?
Yep.
Mark, yes.
You do not need to be able-bodied to be worth life. You can be disabled, struggle through each day, unable to leave home, unable to work, unable to visit friends. You can endure 1,000 humiliations, crying at the most recent one, when suddenly a sparrow flying past your window, landing in the dirt below, flying to a tree branch, trading places with its fellow, reminds you that the world has beauty that you can still access. Suddenly, you notice that the winter's bare branches are sprouting leaves, turning green. Suddenly, you notice that daffodils are sprouting. Suddenly, you notice that spring is coming, and your heart lightens, just as you know that your neighbors are excited too.
MS, I would like to say I'm one of the people who needed to hear that one. Thank you. Very much so.
Thank you.
Beatrice. Beatrice?
Yeah, that's right. Hello, everyone. Remember the days you locked yourself in and outside nature breathed, the sun in deep. How you tore the few layers of clothing softly folded into your small average suitcase, and you quickly decided the jeans, the trousers would have to be left behind for some time. Forget the suitcase is there. Forget the world is left at a standstill. How you nurture love with a produce seller and perfect a handshake, finally accepting help. The disabled ask for dragging a chariot up the street 5 minutes away, heavy and ladened. Remember in January, you had noticed the bird song at 5 in the morning and thought, curieux, très curieux. How 1.5 months later, you now marvel at the cacophony in the budding greens up above your head as you strolled your daily boucle around the garden, sprawled at your door and below your balcony. How the gate was locked. Remember the olive tree, enormous, standing inside its square, gigantic terracotta pot. How you, who had burned an orchid in February, worried about its watering. Give it a sliver of stream. Give it a tiny glass. Remember what you learned, how to tend to your heritage, nurture the seeds left alive from the bombs again and again somewhere else, how they grow and grow stronger now.
Beatrice, that was amazing. Fantastic work. I think we're probably at our stopping point unless someone has a little tiny poem. Does anybody have something that's small that we could squeeze in? Then I'm gonna go ahead and hand it to
Elena,
Stacey.
Elena, I saw your hand was up.
Oh, bring it on, Elena, my poetry friend.
Thank you. I wasn't going to because it's very unfinished, but I'll do it very quickly. I was inspired by Julia's meditation of softening and your prompt about what do I need to hear. This has science fiction references, so forgive me. The softening. The Highlander seeks the quickening. Doctor Who seeks regeneration. The seeker longs for resurrection. The poet contemplates a softening, usually found around the belly. In life, we are trained to control it, flatten it, medicate it. True desire lives there. Love's home is free to be who we are completely. A poet sees the mystical as plainly as the birds in the sky. These birds are all belly, yet they soar beyond the constraint of fear. That's all I have.
That final line had such an echo that sounded like Mary Oliver's poem, Beyond the Constraint of Fear. Maybe beyond the constraint of fear is being a part of the family of things. Thank you, Elena.
Yeah, I love the close on that too. I like that strong close.
Yes. Thank you, Elena. That was a great final line. Stacey, I'll hand it over to you for announcements and the like, and then we'll come back for a final reading.
Golly, you guys. Got a lot of tears going over here. That was some beautiful, beautiful work. I just quickly want to read to you one of the poems written by a class of students this week. They titled it The Third Grade Poem. You do not have to be the same as everyone else. You do not have to be a follower for 500 miles through the valley saying you are sorry. You only have to be kind, grateful, and yourself. Tell me about your day, and I will tell you about mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the kids are learning. Meanwhile, the teachers are teaching. Whoever you are, no matter what other people think, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like Mother Nature over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. The third grade poem. Yes, with everybody's very, there was a lot of fighting over making sure everybody got to write their own name. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, beautiful Julia and Christine. It was just a lovely, lovely session. Next week, we are studying Manuel's beautiful poem called I Am From Here. And our facilitators are Erica Manto Paulson and Adriana Prieto Quintero. So we're super excited. We hope to see you back next week. We have opened up the portal for accepting poems for the book this year early. If it helps you to get them all done, you'll get an email that will show you how to submit them, and then you'll be reminded a whole lot of times throughout the month and after the month. And at the end of, after our 4 sessions, we have one additional session with Sheila McMullen on craft. So it's really a great way to continue to work on your poems and just do some craft work in general. So Bryce, am I forgetting anything?
I think you got it.
Okay, thanks. Christine, you were gonna invite someone to read the poem so we can hear the voices of our family of things.
That's right. You've heard it from me, and you heard the Spanish version from Julia. I'd love to hear it in another voice. And Mervyn, I actually wondered if it could be you who did a final reading of the poem. Oh, I can't hear you on mute. Are you comfortable with being the final reader?
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm trying to bring up
I can
the copy
share my screen here.
Yes.
That would be easier.
Great.
Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert, repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of the rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clear blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like the wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over announcing your place in the family of things.
Mervyn, thank you. That was
Thank you.
wonderful. Just what I needed to hear. I think that's it. Is there anything else, Stacy?
No, I don't think we have anything official, but except for loads of love for our mindful poetry family. Really spectacular. And Christine, thank you for being with us. I know you were in one of our very first sessions when we incubated this with On Being and Pedrego Tuma. It's just amazing to have you in this space. We'll also send out an email so everyone knows how to be in touch with or find out more about Christine and Julia. They both are beautiful humans making human work, but they also have projects and organizations that they support that are definitely worth knowing.
Yes. Thanks, Stacy.
Yeah, and thanks everybody else. Have a beautiful night.
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.